It's the battle of the scandals in the House of Commons. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. You know, the Mike Duffy trial has been on hiatus for a little while. It's going to resume shortly, but that hasn't stopped the opposition New Democrats from asking about it repeatedly in the House of Commons.
Isn't it convenient, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister's office can doctor the Duffy report, but it can't release it to the public? The
Prime Minister said here on April 22nd that Duffy signed, before being appointed to the Senate, a declaration. Will the Conservatives release this document, yes or no?
Now, what's interesting is the response from Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister, Paul Calandra, who doesn't really answer about Duffy. He says it's a matter before the courts and he can't really comment. But then he turns around and turns the tables on the NDP over their own spending scandal.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, this case is before the courts, so we'll allow the courts to complete their work, Mr. Speaker. But as you know, Mr. Speaker, whether it's a senator or a member of Parliament, when Canadian taxpayers see their money being used inappropriately, they are angry, and they have the right to be angry and to expect that money to be returned to them. That's why I would suggest that the NDP avoid the sad spectacle of having the Leader of the Opposition in court this summer trying to defend the over $2 million that they owe the taxpayers. Do the right thing for the taxpayer and pay the money back. Here, here.
Now, we've talked about these spending scandals before. The New Democrats set up satellite offices in Montreal that were paid for by House of Commons resources, but were essentially doing partisan work. They were there to help the NDP get re-elected. They were about to open similar offices in Saskatchewan. So that's all paid for by you to help them get re-elected. That's a violation of the rules, and the Board of Internal Economy, made up of MPs from all parties, found the New Democrats in violation. They ordered them to pay back $2.75 million. They've also been ordered to pay back more than $1 million, most of it owed to Canada Post, for irregular mailings that failed to meet the needs and the definition of what's allowed under the franking privileges. These are the special mailing privileges granted to MPs. So almost $4 million here that the New Democrats owe the Canadian taxpayers, but they're refusing to pay it back. They say, no, we're not going to, and we'll take it up in court. You would think that might be a scandal, that the NDP owes money but doesn't want to pay it. And you would think that a minister of the Crown raising this issue on a daily basis might generate some kind of media coverage, but no, not really. Now look, I will grant you that Paul Calandra raising this issue is an attempt by him to change the channel. He wants to deflect from Duffy. He is answering the question in this way and raising the NDP's own problems as a way for his own partisan gain. But the NDP's questions, those aren't really about finding out answers on Duffy. The answers on Duffy will come from the court. They know that. They know that the government's not going to say much while the case is before the courts, and they've made it clear they're not going to defend Duffy at all. So both sides are playing partisan games, but are the media playing partisan games as well? Because there's very little coverage of what's happening when it comes to the New Democrats and their calls to send the money back. They are just being treated as if it's something that could automatically happen. We're hearing about senators who might be ordered to send money back, and the NDP are asking questions about that and saying these guys could potentially end up in jail. I think they should watch how many fingers they're pointing at other people, because, as we say, there's always 3 fingers pointing back at ourselves when we point. The NDP have almost 4 million fingers pointed back at them. Too bad more Canadians aren't hearing about that.